The Capital District, also known as the Capital Region, refers to the metropolitan area surrounding Albany, the capital of the U.S. state of New York, with a population of 1,170,483. The Capital District is the third largest metropolitan region in the state and the 45th largest in the country. Fortune 500 companies that have headquarters in Albany include American Express, CommerceHub, JPMorgan Chase and Co., Merrill Lynch, General Electric, Verizon, Goldman Sachs, International Paper, f.y.e. Stores, and the Environment One Corporation. In the 21st century, the Capital District has emerged as a major anchor of Tech Valley, the moniker describing the technologically focused region of eastern New York State. The Capital District was first settled by the Dutch in the early 17th century and came under British control in 1664. Albany has been the permanent capital of the state of New York since 1797. The Capital District is notable for many historical events that predate the independence of the United States, including the Albany Plan of Union and the battles of Saratoga. Etymology. The term Capital District is commonly used to refer to the area due to its location surrounding the state capital. This is similar to other capital districts throughout the world, all of which are associated with a respective capital city. The earliest reference to the name of Capital District stems from the planned metropolitan area surrounding Albany, which was attempted by the state in the late 1760s, comprising land that is now the cities of Albany, Troy, Rensselaer, Watervliet, Cohoes, along with what are now the towns of Colony, Green Island, North Greenbush, and East Greenbush. Later, Schenectady was added to this district as well. In the 1810s, several economic and government organizations covering the area also used Capital District in the name, such as the Capital District Conference of Charities and Corrections in 1813, the Capital District Life Underwriters Association also in 1813, and the Capital District Recreation League. The Capital District Recreation League, formed in 1816, proposed a Capital District Park to be roughly 8 miles from Albany, Cohoes, Rensselaer, Schenectady, Troy, and Watervliet. The location proposed was the area of the Shaker settlement. The park was never created, though in 1928 the location was used for Albany International Airport for the same reason of its central location to those suburbs. Nicknames Capitoland, Metroland, and Tech Valley are nicknames sometimes used to refer to the Capital District. Different uses of the names Capital District, Capital Region, and Eastern New York may sometimes be used on regions that include Hamilton County, and the extreme northern portions of the Mid-Hudson Valley, usually Ulster and Dutchess counties, or extreme southern sections of Essex County. The Capital District is a part of the area marketed under the name Tech Valley in recognition of the technology companies that have moved to the region, or are being wooed by governmental or educational institutions to relocate to the area. The 19-county region, which extends from the Canadian border south to Orange County, is marketed by organizations such as the Tech Valley Chamber Coalition, the Albany Colony Regional Chamber of Commerce, and the Albany-based Center for Economic Growth. History. First settlements. Permanent European claims and settlement began in 1609 when Henry Hudson sailed north up the Hudson River in the name of the Dutch. During the same year, Samuel Champlain explored south down Lake Champlain and Lake George in the name of France. Conflict soon ensued between the French and Dutch for control of the fur trade, and both made alliances with different Native American tribes. In 1630, Kilian van Rensselaer founded the Manor of Rensselaerswyck, a Dutch patroonship in the area, which encompassed much of the area that is now the Capital District. In 1664, the English successfully conquered the Dutch while rivalry with the French continued. The Dutch, and then the English, maintained focus on settlement and farming, while the French incursion into this area was limited to hunting for furs, trading with the natives, and building a few forts. Conflict arose when the French built Fort Caroline and the British built Fort William Henry near each other, both in order to control the route between the Hudson River Valley and the Champlain Valley. Through the Dongan Charter, Governor Thomas Dongan granted Albany the right to purchase 500 acres in Chartecogue and 1,000 acres at Shenandoah. Aunt Van Curler founded Schenectady in 1662. Fort Saratoga was built at present-day Schuylerville in 1691, and Greenbush was settled in the 1620s. South of Albany, settlement occurred quickly at first, but slowed as growth on the frontier pushed people north and west of Albany and left the southern reaches of the Capital District behind. Hudson, in Columbia County, was purchased from the natives in 1662 by Dutch farmers and speculators, but did not see actual settlement and growth until 1783, when New Englanders, mainly from southeastern Massachusetts and Rhode Island, arrived. It was chartered as a city in 1785, becoming only the third city in the state. The French and Indian War saw several major battles in the Capital District, including at the aforementioned forts. In the end, the French were defeated, freeing the land for further settlement to the west and north of Albany. During the American Revolution, the area again saw fighting, and Fort Ticonderoga experienced notable action. The Battle of Saratoga, which took place in the present-day town of Stillwater, is considered the turning point of the war. In 1776, General Philip Schuyler built a small fleet of ships at Whitehall. They were used by Benedict Arnold in the Battle of Valker Island. The event led to Whitehall's modern-day claim to be the birthplace of the United States Navy. After the Revolution, settlements continued to proliferate west and north of the Albany area. North of Albany, along the river, settlements grew quickly: Waterford, Troy, Lansing-Borough, and Watervliet. West from Schenectady, land purchases in the 1750s led to settlements at Fonda and Fultonville in Montgomery County, but land purchases elsewhere, such as at Gloversville in Fulton County, did not see settlement until the end of the 18th century, when the Iroquois threat had been eliminated by the Sullivan Expedition in 1779, which came as retaliation for the Cherry Valley Massacre in nearby Otsego County. Creation of the counties. The entire area of the Capital District was within the original boundaries of Albany County as established by the province of New York on November 1, 1683. It was one of the original 12 counties. In 1772, Charlotte County and Tryon County were both formed from parts of Albany County. Charlotte County was renamed Washington County in 1784, and from part of that, Warren County was created in 1813. Tryon County was renamed Montgomery County in 1784, and from part of that, Fulton County was created in 1838. Tryon County was large. It encompassed the lands from 5 miles west of Schenectady to the western indeterminate boundary of the province of New York. What remained of Albany County in 1774 became the most populated county in the state, with a population of 42,921, and it continued to be the most populous county until at least 1790, when the population was 75,921. Albany lost population as new counties were created from within. Columbia County was created in 1786, Rensselaer and Saratoga counties were formed in 1791, Schoharie County was created in 1795 from parts of both Albany and Otsego counties. Greene County was formed in 1800 from parts of both Albany and Ulster counties. Schenectady County was created in 1809. 1809, and Warren County was formed in 1813 from Washington County. Fulton County was the last county in the Capital District to be formed. A graphical representation of the county breakup timeline can be seen below. Urbanization and transportation. Many geographical features weighed heavily in the area's early industrialization. The abundance of small creeks with waterfalls led to early adoption of the water wheel, while water navigation south on the Hudson and land routes west along the relatively flat Mohawk Valley allowed for easy access to and from resources and markets in those areas. In the late 1790s, stage lines began to connect the various cities and villages in the area. This network would then connect the area to the rest of the country in the early 19th century. The early 19th century also saw the rise of turnpikes, plank roads, and post roads. It was in Albany in 1809 that Robert Fulton first demonstrated that steamboats could be economically successful with a trip to the city of New York. In 1813, to support the army in the War of 1812, the U.S. government built the Watervliet Arsenal in West Troy, one of the earliest large-scale industrial complexes in the Capital District. In 1823, the Federal Dam was built on the Hudson, allowing for navigation north past Troy to Waterford and Cohoes. The Champlain and Erie canals were opened in 1823 and 1825, respectively. Their completion connected the area to the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence River, leading to a large influx in industrialization and immigration. Shortly after the completion of the canals, in 1831, the Mohawk and Hudson Railroad Company built the Albany and Schenectady Railroad between those two cities. This was the first railway in the state. Railroads, like the plank, post roads and canals before them, made Albany an even more important transportation hub. In 1853, Erastus Corning consolidated 10 railroads stretching from Albany to Buffalo as the New York Central Railroad, headquartered in Albany until Cornelius Vanderbilt took over in 1867 and moved the company to New York City. Industry consequently became prominent in the area. Gloversville was labeled the headquarters of the glove and metal industry, and became the preeminent glove manufacturing and leatherworking region in New York. Cohoes became known as the Spindle City for its large cotton mills, due mainly to Harmony Mills, the largest cotton mill complex in the world when it opened in 1872. Troy became famous for its iron works due to Burden Iron Works, though later Troy would earn the nickname of Collar City due to Clouet, Peabody and Amp Co., which made Arrow brand shirts at the largest collar, cuff, and shirt factory in the world at the time. In 1887, Thomas Edison moved his Edison Machine Works to Schenectady, and in 1892 Schenectady became the headquarters of the General Electric Company. Schenectady Locomotive Works, along with 7 other locomotive manufacturers, merged in 1901 and the American Locomotive Company was formed and headquartered in Schenectady. Due to the dominance of GE and Alco in the respective industries, Schenectady would gain the nicknames of Electric City and the City that Lights and Hauls the World. The nature of this industry lent itself to the creation of many labor-saving inventions, such as the horseshoe machine of Henry Burden, the pre-shrinking fabric machines of Sanford Clouet, the power knitting loom of Timothy Bailey, the railroad air brake of George Westinghouse, and the hundreds of electricity-related improvements of General Electric Company scientists. Rise of the suburbs and urban decline. Starting with the 1980 U.S. Census, Albany posted a decline in population until the 2000 U.S. Census. Meanwhile, the suburbs saw an influx in population and grew at the expense of the city of Albany. There were many causes to this, including the building of interstates and other highways allowing for more commuting, lack of available suitable land within the urban centers, and the subsequent location of shopping centers following the people to the suburbs. The decline of exporting from the United States contributed to a general decline as well. Watervliet, Cohoes, and especially Troy lost a competitive edge that came with being at the confluence of the Hudson and Mohawk rivers. The location no longer meant better access to markets, waterfalls no longer made the cheapest power, and cheap labor in the southern and western parts of the nation became important to companies. General Electric moved part of their headquarters to Connecticut from Schenectady in the mid-80s. Within the Capital District, focus shifted to the suburbs. The suburbs had large open spaces for office parks and homes, while the cities were constrained in available land. Albany International, with their headquarters and factory straddling the Menands and Albany border, built a new headquarters in 1987 in suburban East Greenbush, as did Garden Way, headquartered in Troy. The region's first technology park was built in the 1980s in North Greenbush by Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. Not only was there a shift in population to the suburbs, there was also a shift in retail shopping as well. Retail sales in the cities declined 1% between 1972 and 1987, having increased 63% in the suburbs. In 1957, Westgate Plaza became the first suburban-style shopping center in the area. It was and still is within the city limits of Albany, however. But then 2 years later in 1959, Stuyvesant Plaza was built outside Albany in the neighboring town of Guilderland. 1966 saw the opening of Colony Center, the area's first enclosed shopping mall. When built, it drew shoppers from hundreds of miles from Albany. Macy's, which only had locations in the New York City area, and Sears originally wanted to build in downtown Albany, but interference from Mayor Erastus Corning II led to those stores choosing to move into suburban Colony Center instead. Problems with Mayor Corning would also force the Albany Times-Union newspaper to move from Albany to Colony in the 1970s. Crossgates Mall is a large upscale mall that was built in the suburb of Guilderland in 1984. A modern expansion in 1994 drew luxury anchor Lord and Amp Taylor to the mall and added another Macy's, which was exclusive to the region. 5 more enclosed malls were built in the next 10 years, all outside of Albany limits. Rotterdam Square outside Schenectady, Wilton Mall in Saratoga Springs, Aviation Mall in Queensbury, and Clifton Park Center in Clifton Park. The first mall built within a downtown area was completed back in 1977 as the Amsterdam Mall in Amsterdam. The next year, Troy opened the Uncle Sam Atrium, and in 1986 Cohoes attempted Cohoes Commons, which is now office space. Urban revival. In the late 1980s, historic parts of Albany, as well as areas of Schenectady, Troy, and Saratoga Springs all began to see intensive restoration with an influx of private investments. During the Pataki administration, a plan was devised to move state workers out of the W. Averell Harriman State Office Building campus and move them to the downtowns of Albany, Schenectady, Troy and Wolf Road and Colony. Just prior to and as part of the Albany Plan, regional headquarters of NYSDOT were built on the corner of State and Broadway in Schenectady. State workers were moved to the Troy Atrium in Troy, and the Deccan Controllers buildings were built in Albany. Along with new state workers and buildings, Albany also saw the refurbishment and renovation of the State Education Building, State Capitol, Smith Building, and the NY Court of Appeals. New construction also occurred at other levels of government, with the building of the Albany County Family Court and with the city refurbishing the Palace Theater. Private investment in downtown Albany saw an influx of restaurants, bars, and nightclubs, especially on Pearl Street, and the first new office high-rise in 15 years was built on Broadway. In Schenectady, the Metroplex Authority allowed for massive private investment on State Street in the vicinity of Proctor's Theatre. Along with Proctor's being expanded, 2 new hotels, a large movie theatre, and the headquarters of Price Shop are moving downtown from the suburbs of neighboring Rotterdam. That section has seen a huge revival. Geography. The Capital District's most prominent geological features were formed by glaciers creating its major rivers and valleys through ancient mountain ranges. The Hudson River forms the Hudson Valley, which is a north-south running valley through the core of the Capital District, while its tributary, the Mohawk River, forms the Mohawk Valley, which runs west from Schenectady. The Schoharie Creek, a tributary of the Mohawk, forms the Schoharie Valley, which runs through Schoharie County. Major mountain ranges are the Adirondack Mountains in the northwestern area and the Appalachian Mountains along the southern and eastern sections. The Appalachians include the Rensselaer Plateau in Rensselaer and southeastern Washington counties, the Taconic Mountains along the Washington, Rensselaer, and Columbia counties borders with Vermont, Massachusetts, and Connecticut, the Allegheny Plateau in Schoharie, Greene, and western Albany counties, which includes the Helderberg Escarpment in Albany County, and the Catskill Mountains in Greene County. Major lakes include the Great Sacandaga Lake in Saratoga and Fulton counties, Saratoga Lake in Saratoga County, and Lake George and Warren and Essex counties. Location. Climate. The Capital District has a humid continental climate, with cold, snowy winters, and hot, wet summers. Albany receives around 36.2 inches of rain per year, with 135 days of at least 1 inches of precipitation. Snowfall is significant, totaling about 63 inches annually, but with less accumulation than the lake-effect areas to the north and west, being far enough from Lake Ontario. The core of the region is, however, close enough to the coast to receive heavy snow from nor'easters, and the region gets the bulk of its yearly snowfall from these types of storms. The region also occasionally receives Alberta clippers. Mohawk-Hudson convergence occasionally prolongs snowfall events in the Capital District, where precipitation has ended elsewhere across the region. Winters are often very cold with fluctuating conditions. Temperatures can drop to below 0 degrees Fahrenheit at night. Summers in the region can contain stretches of excessive heat and humidity, with temperatures above 90 degrees Fahrenheit and dew points near 70. Severe thunderstorms are common, but tornadoes are rare. Albany receives on average per year 69 sunny days, 111 partly cloudy days, and 185 cloudy days, and an average, over the course of the year, of less than 4 hours of sunshine per day, with just over an average of 2.5 hours per day over the course of the winter. The chance during daylight hours of sunshine is 53%, with the highest percentage of sunny daylight hours being in July with 64%, and the lowest month is November with 37%.